Hello there guys, RMP792 here. Haven't done one of these vlogs for a little while. I've actually been meaning to do this particular one for a couple of days, but having the time to do it and so on and so forth. So, Moffat's quitting as head writer of Doctor Who. Probably should have happened a couple of years ago if I'm honest, but here's the thing. I like Stephen Moffat as a writer. I don't think he's been a great head writer. Because Moffat's very much one of those people where you give him one episode, maybe a two-parter per season, and he'll come up with something really good. I mean, before he actually took over, we had Blink, we had the Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, and those were some really good episodes which he wrote. After he took over as head writer, you started to see the same trick over and over again, which his first season was actually really good. Which was also Matt Smith's first season, and was that season 5 or season 6? Whatever. That was actually a really good season. And I think overall I really enjoyed it. After that, the sheer number of times we've had the this is a fixed point in time and the Doctor is definitely going to die and there's nothing you could do to stop it. Oh wait, something happened. Plot line. It's become very repetitive. So I actually just pulled up the statement. So they've decided to schedule Stephen's big finale series in spring 2007 to bring the nation together for what will be a huge event on the channel. 2016 is apparently spoiled with national moments, including the Euros and the Olympics, and they want to hold it back for 2017. So the implication I get is that we're not getting a season of Doctor Who this year, which is weird, but okay. Admittedly, they did something similar with RTD's last season, where it was just a series of specials rather than a proper series, which I wasn't a fan of it then. I'm not a fan of it now. It's if the writer's leaving, fine, but do it and move on. This implies to me that the BBC heads probably don't have much faith for whatever reason, and let's be honest, given how badly the Beeb has screwed Doctor Who in the past, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. There's the quote from him. Yeah, his basic comment is that he's planning on going out with a bang and all that stuff. So we know who his replacement as head writer is going to be. It's going to be Chris Chibnall. Still not convinced I'm pronouncing that right. Who is currently the head writer on Broadchurch, and he's written some Doctor Who in the past. Not exactly great episodes of Doctor Who, if I'm honest, because if I just pull up his Doctor Who writing credits. 42 was not a terribly good episode in my opinion. It tried to do the 24 thing of telling it in real time, and yeah, okay, you can potentially do something with that, but they sort of didn't. It was just a weird plot about a sun monster. The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. Yeah, I did not like the Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, largely because I really think they screwed over the Silurians. Because the Silurians went from being this really interesting race who, even with the limits of the original makeup, they looked alien as hell and they looked creepy as hell. Now they are basically the most generic lizard men I have ever seen. And while how they look isn't the fault of the writer, it just wasn't a terribly good two-parter, I didn't think. Insofar as, they had this, great idea of the Silurians coming in. Why did he get rid of their psychic powers? Because that was one of the big things of the Silurians. They had a third eye, and they had incredibly strong telekinetic and telepathic powers, and that was much more interesting to me than just the generic guys we got, who looked more like the Sea Devils actually, because based on this, that means there were at least 3 different groups of basically the same species but subspecies wandering around the Earth at the same time. You had the Sea Devils who were beneath the sea, and you had the original Silurians who were doing their thing with the psychic powers, and then you had these guys who were doing their thing, and it made the Silurian continuity a mess, and frankly it wasn't the most mess-free thing to begin with. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Great title. Not a terribly great episode. Honestly, I barely even remember Dinosaurs on a Spaceship because it just wasn't terribly interesting. The Power of Three. That was the one with those bloody cubes. That was not a terribly good episode either. Because it didn't help that they had the whole, oh yes, and the cubes are going to cause everybody to have a heart attack and die. And oh my god, this is shocking. And then the Doctor revives them by restarting their hearts. Fine, except for the fact that if you time it, it takes a lot longer than 3 minutes. And 3 to 4 minutes is about how long you've got to restart someone's heart before permanent brain death occurs, or permanent brain damage occurs, I should say. So the fact that it clearly took longer than that means that quite a lot of people on Earth had some pretty bad brain damage as a result of that, and that is a big plot hole, and it's never addressed. And the rest of the episode was kind of boring anyway. It's the whole, oh, all these cubes show up, and they don't do anything for a long time, and everybody gets kind of bored of them. And yes, okay, that's a potentially interesting idea, but the actual plot of the episode itself just wasn't terribly interesting. And then in Series 9 we had The Magician's Apprentice, which was pretty much I mean, to be fair, it had the bit with him playing the guitar, which was nice, but other than that, it was not a terribly great start. I mean, as a beginning to a season, it was definitely a bit lacking. The next episode was The Witch's Familiar, which was loads of Daleks and things like that. So it was okay. Honestly, that's about... so, I'll be honest, I'm not massively enthused about him becoming head writer. I know he's been working on Broadchurch, which I haven't seen, so I'm not going to give any opinions on that, because it's impossible to give complete opinions on something you haven't seen any of, so I have no idea if that's good, but whatever. But maybe he'll get better. Because let's be honest, Moffat wrote some really fantastic episodes, and then as a showrunner, he's been okay. I think Moffat's just one of those people who you give him enough time, and he does some really excellent scripts. You rush him, by basically, by letting him have, because I mean, he was writing half a dozen episodes a season at one point, and you get lower quality as a result, which is fair enough. As a general rule of thumb, there's the old triangle. There's cheap, there's good, and there's fast, and most of the time you can only get 2 of them. So Moffat, I'll freely admit, falls into the category of, he's pretty, he can do really good quality, but if you rush him, the quality suffers, and that's fair enough. So, as I say, he works very well as an individual story writer, but he just does not work terribly great as a showrunner. That's my opinion on him. As for this guy, I have no idea. He hasn't written anything that I would say is exactly a classic episode of Who. He's written some stuff that's been okay at best. Maybe he'll come into his element as showrunner, because part of being the showrunner is about wrangling the other writers and making sure everything meshes properly and everything connects, and feeling like there's a consistent flow across the episodes, especially in terms of character arcs. And maybe he's just really, really good at that, and he'll only write an episode or 2 a season and let other writers handle the actual thing, which I'd be fine with. Because there are some writers who can actually write an entire season. I mean, Babylon 5 is the classic example where J. Michael Straczynski, and I'm probably pronouncing his surname wrong because, well, everybody does, notoriously wrote the entirety of Season 3 and all but 1 episode of both Seasons 4 and 5. And that's was it 22 or 24 episode run for each season. So, he wrote a hell of a lot of scripts, and a lot of those, and there are some, and Babylon 5 is a hell of a good show, and there are some really good episodes. So some people can do it, some people can't, and Moffat, I don't think, is a person who could, and I have no idea if Chris Krimble, or I want to say Chris Kringle, but I know that's wrong, Chris Chibnall can, so we'll see. But either way, it looks like we won't be getting a new season in 2016, which is a pity, because as I say, I'm enjoying Capaldi's Doctor. There's a lot of rumours that this might end up being Capaldi's last season, so that the new writer has a new Doctor to play with, in much the same way that when David Tennant and Russell T Davies left at the same time, that basically gave Moffat Matt Smith to play with as a whole new Doctor. We don't know. We will see. Personally, I'm really liking Capaldi as the Doctor. I'd like him to stay on for a few more years, but we'll see. And yeah, at the moment, this really falls into one of those, let's hope it works, but I genuinely don't know. I'm not massively impressed with this guy's previous work on the show, and we'll have to see what happens in future. So, with that said and done, I think that's everything that I've got on this news, and yeah. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in future videos.